let's take a look at how to do a factory reset on the Avid 11 rack. So if you want to reset the memory on your 11 rack, the very first step you need to consider would be backing up all the rigs and patches you have on your 11 rack. When you reset to the factory memory, all user patches will be erased and will be replaced with the factory patches, which are always there once we scroll down to the end to the lowercase letter patches. So all these factory patches will be available here and available in your uppercase letter section, the user section. So if you have any patches you want to keep, back those up. So let's do that right now. So first, let's say we only have a couple patches we want to back up. The rest we'll say we already have backed up, or we'll say they're factory patches. So we'll just back up this patch and let's say this patch. So we have our 11 rack on-screen editor open, and to back up these two patches that we want to save, we'll go to Save and Save to Computer. Then we need to choose our directory, and I'll just choose this one. This is fine. So I'll hit Save, and there we go. Now I'll check my directory to make sure that the M2705 is there, and right there is the M2705. So then we would repeat that same process for the next patch and the next patch and the next patch if you only had a couple patches you wanted to back up. So we go to Save, Save to Computer, etc. Just repeat those steps. But in my opinion, a better idea is to do a full dump. Just save everything you have in your user section. Even if there's some in there you already have backed up or there are factory patches, in my opinion, just save everything just so you don't accidentally miss a patch, a rig. For instance, you may think you only have, say, D3 and D4 to back up, but you may have forgot that 3 weeks ago you had changed something on 03, and then you only back up the D3 and D4, you do a factory reset, and now you've lost your rig. So a much better idea, in my opinion, is just do the full dump right from the beginning. So we'll go to Save all rigs to computer, then we'll choose our directory, give it a name. You can name this something familiar to you. What I like to do is maybe use a certain name, and then also the date of the backup, and I usually call it full backup. So give it a name, make sure you put the date in there just to give you a reference of when these were dumped to your hard drive, and then click Save. Now all the patches from the user section are being dumped onto our hard drive, so we'll be able to access those even after our factory reset. Alright, so that's done. We could take a look at our directory if you want. So here's the folder that was made for us, and there's all of our rigs. So even though this is a full backup, we can still load these one by one, or we can load all of them at one time. So that's another good reason to just do a full dump, because it gives you the option to get right back to where you were, or just load the ones you want after your factory reset. Now when we do our factory reset, it's going to erase all of our user rigs, as we've already mentioned. It's also going to change our user settings back to their factory defaults. So right now I have, say, my display set to display values. So if I hold edit back on knob display action, I have that set here. I have it set to latch. So a lot of these settings will be set back to their factory defaults. So we'll need to come back later and change those back if that's how we want to continue to use those. So just keep in mind that some settings you have will probably be changed, and you'll probably need to go back and change those later to how you wish to use them. So we'll put this on, say, digital left right, then we'll do our factory reset and check out what our rig input is set to. So one more thing to note before we do our factory reset, we'll come down here to firmware version. You can see this firmware version is 2.01. Now this 11 rack originally came with, I don't exactly remember, it was either the first version, which was like 0.5 something, or it was one of the 1.0.1 versions. I don't remember exactly, but I know when I got the rig I updated it to 1.0.2, then I updated it to 1.0.3, then it was updated to 2.0.0, and then it was further updated to 2.0.1, which is what it's on now. And 2.0.1 is known as the 11 rack expansion pack. The 11 rack expansion pack is a firmware update. So when we do our factory reset, some people are worried that they'll erase the update to their 11 rack. Well, there's no need to worry about that. Since it's a firmware update, when we reset it to factory, the 11 rack will reset to the currently installed firmware factory settings. Okay, so it's not going to revert to the 1.0.1 version that was on there, or the 1.0.3 version that was on there, or the 2.0.0 version that was on there. It's going to revert to the factory settings for the currently installed firmware, which is 2.0.1. So if you're worried about losing your 11 rack expansion pack, don't worry about that. If for some odd, strange reason that were to happen, and not from a reset, but for any reason, you can always contact Avid, and they'll know what version you're supposed to have on your 11 rack, and more than likely they'll help you out. Great people at Avid. So let's get on to resetting our 11 rack to factory settings. So we don't need Pro Tools open for this, so we'll go ahead and close it. So we'll hold Edit back, about 2 to 3 seconds. We'll assume you're starting up on the first page. Then we just use the scroll knob to scroll down. Page 3, very bottom where it says Reset Memory. Press SW1 to select that. This lets us know what we're doing. To restore all rigs and user options to factory defaults, press Reset. This operation cannot be undone. That's why you want to make sure you have backed up your rigs first. You don't want to lose a rig setting. Also keep in mind, many of your settings will probably be changed, so you'll need to go through your user options and change those back. So let's get on to the reset. So we'll simply press Reset. Then it asks us, are you sure? Of course we're sure. And we'll press SW1 again. Reset in progress. You see it's already reset. You may have heard my computer, being that the 11 rack is connected to the computer via USB, it noticed that it was now offline, and now it noticed that it's online. And there it is. You see now A1 is using big blue, and you can see my tempo tuner button is now blinking. I've had that setting off for about 2 years now. So on the reset, it resets all those settings. If we scroll all the way down to the lowercase, go to A1 here, you'll see A1 is big blue, A2 clean chorus, etc., etc. Now those are reflected in our user settings since we've been reset to the factory settings. A1 big blue, A2 chorus clean, A1 big blue, A2 chorus clean. So you see that. Notice that our display is showing knobs. I make an adjustment here. It'll show the value and then go right back to knobs. And earlier we had that set to display value, and the action was latch. We had blink off. Remember our rig input that we changed? Well, now it's on guitar. We had it on digital left right, just as an example, but I want that on guitar. So there you go. Now we've done a factory reset to our 11 rack, and from here we can go back into our menu and change our settings back to how they were, and also load up our rigs one by one, or just load a full dump. So let's do that real quick. I'll open up Pro Tools here. So now we have Pro Tools open. Let's go ahead and load those rigs back that we saved beforehand. You click the name bar here and hit load all rigs from computers, because we'll just load all of them. And this is our backup folder. We'll just choose the XML file, click open. Now our patches are loading. And there we go. Our patches are loaded. And we'll just check here, hold edit back, scroll down to firmware version. And right here we can see we still have the 2.0.1 firmware version. So we still have our 11 rack expansion pack. So no need to worry about losing that. Now all that's left is to plug in your guitar and get playing. Maybe you want to create some more patches, load more patches. Be sure to go through, hold your edit back button, change your settings back to how you had them before or differently. Set it up however you want. We can also change some settings in our 11 rack on-screen editor by going to user options. We can change some settings in here. Very quick and easy to change some settings in the editor or right from the 11 rack itself. So to recap, to reset your memory, simply hold edit back, scroll down to where it says reset memory, select, click reset. It'll ask are you sure, click reset again. It will quickly reset. Make sure you have Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using closed down first. Go ahead and reset it, and you'll be right back to factory settings. This is a great thing to do for troubleshooting. Just reset the memory, have all them settings back to their factory settings, and you can troubleshoot from there. So you can get right back to factory fresh condition, and you won't lose the currently installed firmware.